And it sounds like we're back. Thank you for that. You're listening to Live from the Heartland, and it is live from the Heartland. And that's why you can hear all those people slurping coffee, eating pancakes, and happily serving their kids breakfast at the Heartland. That would be Michael James making a lot of noise in the background. Excess. Live from the Heartland comes to you every week at this time on WLUW, and we are probably in our 16th or 17th year. Some one of us is going to figure that out soon, but happy to be on Loyola Community Radio. My name is Katie Hogan. I'm your host this week and next week, as it turns out. I'm really glad to welcome an old friend, a true honorable activist in the biggest sense of the word, because this guy's got a law degree. He could have gone elsewhere. Dennis Cunningham, welcome back to Chicago, darling.
Thank you so much. I'm very glad to be here, that's for sure, even though it's cold.
Yeah, well, that's what happens here in January.
I forgot all about it.
You did you?
I live in California.
All right. Well, we need to hear about this pretty terrible stuff that you're dealing with, and we just had this bit of a conversation of dipping yourself into the story of what really happened on 9/11, and specifically, you've taken a case centered around the Pentagon, and a number of us have wondered about the Pentagon story from the get-go, given that there was no plane carcass and very little actual analysis or contact with the scene itself by regular public folks. So here you are in your lap. Could be the biggest story of our lives, that if this in fact turns out to be an inside job. So talk to us about 9/11 in ways we really didn't ever want to hear.
Yes, it's not easy to even contemplate the notion that our own government or people in our government had something to do with it, and in making it happen or letting it happen. But there's just so much evidence, particularly physical, but also circumstantial evidence. For example, where were the fighter planes that have supposedly defended American airspace all these years and been ready to get up in the air at a moment's notice, and then didn't show up that day? You know, there's a statistic out that's to the effect that those planes go up normally, you know, during those years, would go up twice a week to check on airliners that were off course or for out of radio contact. They can get from a scramble order to 29,000 feet in 3 minutes or less. They fly 15 to 1,800 miles an hour. They can get any place in 10 minutes, you know, based on where the bases are. And none of them showed up in New York or Washington. So that's one big question, because that's never been satisfactorily explained. You know, and the report of the 9/11 Commission doesn't get it at all. You know, they leave contradictions unresolved and unexplained. The whole report is full of, as the scholars say, omissions and distortions, and so that there's no explanation for this yet.
Right.
And there is information to the effect that they were notified, but they didn't show up.
You mean these pilots that are supposed to scramble up into the air, there's evidence that they were notified?
Well, that the Air Force was notified, you know, that...
and that nothing...
And nothing happened. And there's a lot of different stuff that you can trace out of this explanation for this aspect or that aspect, but nothing holds together, you know. So and then you have the same... circumstance with respect to, like you said, the wreckage, the lack of any wreckage of a plane visible in any picture.
Right.
Where they say at the same time that the plane, the reason there's no wreckage visible is because because it disintegrated when it hit the building, but at the same time, supposedly, it penetrated 300 feet inside the building and made a great big hole in there, and there's no wreckage in there either.
Uh-huh.
And the person that I'm helping represent was in the Army and was in the building.
Let's talk about your client, who you're representing.
She was a soldier, a career soldier at that time. She had a new baby with her. She was back from maternity leave. She was told to go quickly to her desk to do some job on some documents that had backed up while she was off work, and that she could drop off the baby later. So she had this baby, a 2-month-old baby, with her. She sat down at her desk, and right then the whole place blew up. And this roof fell in on her, and the walls fell down. And she grabbed a baby and went out through all this wreckage. She didn't see any wreckage of any plane. There was no fuel burning all around where she was.
Uh-huh.
So there was the aftermath of a big explosion. You know, the walls were gone, the ceilings were down, and she was lucky. You know, but she got out. She had a head injury. The baby had a head injury, and she went outside, passed out, woke up in the hospital, and then some officials or whoever came to the hospital and asked her what she thought happened. She said, a bomb went off, you know, and they said, no, a plane hit, you know. That's the only explanation that she got, you know, but she never saw any sign of any plane.